Tonight, we travel back to a time of salt and spray, of axe and prayer. We pull back the curtain on the Viking Age, but we're leaving the romanticized, horned, helmeted warriors of legend behind on the shore. The reality of the 9th century was colder, harsher, and far more complex than the sagas might have you believe. It was a world not just of glorious raids, but of gnawing hunger, biting cold, and the profound, grinding effort of survival. It was an age of violent collision between worlds, where the path to honor and the path to ruin were often one and the same. If you find a sense of peace in these journeys to the distant past, and you appreciate this quieter way of exploring history, consider joining our fellowship by subscribing to the channel. Your support is what allows these stories to be told. And as you settle in, let me know in the comments below, what is one simple thing from your modern life? A tool, a food, a piece of knowledge that you think would be utterly revolutionary in the 9th century. I find myself thinking about something as simple as a bar of soap. Now, let's begin. Find your most comfortable position, whether you are lying down or sitting quietly. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath, pulling the air deep into your lungs. And as you exhale, release the tension of your day. Let your shoulders fall. Let the muscles in your jaw unclench. With each breath, feel yourself sinking a little deeper into the surface beneath you. The sounds of your world, the traffic, the notifications, the hum of electricity, all of it can now begin to fade into a gentle background murmur. Your only task now is to listen to my voice and to the story that is about to unfold around you. You are safe, you are comfortable, and you are ready to drift. The first thing that truly hits you is the salt. It coats your tongue, crusts in your beard, and stings the cuts on your hands. It's carried on a wind that has been your only companion for days, a relentless, damp chill that sinks deep into your bones, a cold that no wool or leather can seem to fully defeat. You've just woken up on the shores of 9th century England, and the invasion has already begun. You are on a longship, but it's nothing like the majestic, dragon-headed vessels of heroic tales. It's a tool. It's an open, clinker-built boat, long and narrow, designed for speed and surprise, not comfort. You've been sleeping, if you can call it that, on a hard wooden chest. Your personal sea chest, containing everything you own in this world. Crammed shoulder to shoulder with 50 other men. The air is thick with the smells of unwashed bodies, stale sweat, tarred wood, and the ever-present, fishy odor of the sea. There is no shelter. For weeks, you have eaten cold, dried fish and hard, unappetizing bread, washed down with brackish water from a cask that's starting to go sour. Every muscle in your body aches with a deep, weary thrum from rowing under the grey, weeping skies of the North Sea. This is the reality of a Viking expedition. It is not a glorious adventure, it is a grueling, miserable, and profoundly exhausting ordeal. A harsh shout from the bowman cuts through the morning mist. Land. You push yourself up, your joints groaning in protest. Looking over the low gunwale, you see it, a sliver of grey, green land beneath a sky the colour of slate. Northumbria. The name is a whisper among the men, a promise of silver food, and a break from this wretched life at sea. There is no triumphant roar, not yet. There is only a weary, focused energy. The men around you begin to stir, checking the bindings on their axe heads, tightening the leather straps of their simple helmets, their faces grim and set. You reach into your chest and pull out your own gear. The weight is familiar, almost a part of you. First, the padded woolen tunic, thick and greasy with lanolin to ward off the damp. Over it, you heave the iron rings of your mail shirt. You might imagine gleaming, polished armor, but this is a purely functional thing. It's a heavy, burdensome mesh of interlocking iron rings, likely passed down from your father, each ring slightly rusted from the sea spray. It smells of oil and old sweat. It doesn't make you invincible. A solid spear thrust can still punch through it. But it might just turn a glancing sword blow that would otherwise open you from belly to spine. It's a heavy price to pay for a little more time in this world, and you feel the 30 pounds of it settle onto your already aching shoulders. Next is your shield. It's a simple circle of linden wood, faced with leather and rimmed with iron. It feels heavy and clumsy in your hand, a stark contrast to the light, nimble bucklers of fantasy. Holding it aloft for any length of time is a workout for your entire arm and shoulder. In the center is the iron boss, a dome designed to deflect blows and protect your hand gripping the bar behind it. This shield is your single most important piece of equipment. It is your wall, your defense, your one piece of solid reality in the chaos of a fight. Finally, your axe. The handle is smooth and worn from your grip, the iron head owned to a sharp, unforgiving edge. It is not a massive, double-bitted weapon of legend. It's a tool, an extension of your arm, balanced for both chopping wood and cleaving through a leather helmet. The keel of the longship scrapes against shingle with a gut-wrenching groan. The order is screamed. And you don't hesitate. You swing your legs over the side and drop into the churning, shockingly cold surf. The water is a jolt to your system, surging up to your thighs and threatening to pull you off your feet. This is the moment of greatest vulnerability. A well-defended shore could rain arrows and spears down upon you as you struggle through the waves, clumsy and waterlogged. But this shore is quiet. Too quiet. Your target is visible now, a low cluster of stone buildings on a small rise overlooking the sea. A monastery. These are the softest targets, the ones Ivar, your leader, prefers. They are filled with wealth, silver crosses, golden chalices, embroidered vestments, and guarded by men whose weapons are prayers, and whose shield is their god. A god who, you have learned, is often silent when your ships appear on the horizon. You and your shield brothers form a rough line, a moving wall of wood and iron, and begin the trudge up the beach. The sound is a symphony of grim utility, the slosh of wet leather boots on sand, the clink of mail, the rhythmic grunt of 50 men moving as one. There are no battle cries yet, no roaring berserkers. That is for the SAGAs. This is business. The goal is speed and overwhelming terror. As you crest the rise, you see them. Monks in dark robes, their faces pale with a kind of horror you have seen many times before. A few have farm tools, a pitchfork or a wood axe held in trembling hands. They are sheep, and you are the wolves. The shout finally comes, a guttural roar that rips from every throat at once, and the line breaks into a charge. The world dissolves into chaos. It's not a choreographed dance of blades. It's a clumsy, brutal, shoving match. You crash into a man twice your age, his eyes wide with fear. You don't use your axe. You slam the flat of your shield into his face. There is a wet crunch and he goes down. You step over him, moving forward. It's about momentum. Keep moving. To stop is to die. Another man swings a sickle at you. You catch the blow on your shield, the iron tool scraping uselessly against the wood and leather. You don't even have to look. You swing your axe in a low, horizontal arc. It connects with his leg just above the knee. You feel the jolt run up your arm as the blade bites deep into bone. He screams, a high, thin sound that is quickly lost in the din. This is what a raid is. It is not noble. It is not clean. It is a terrifying, confusing blur of sweat, fear, and startlingly intimate violence. The air fills with the sounds of splintering wood as doors are kicked in, the shrieks of terror, and the triumphant yells of your comrades as they find their prizes. You move with the tide of violence, an instrument of it, but a strange numbness has begun to settle over you. You have done this before, too many times, and with each raid, the promised thrill of glory feels more and more like a lie. You find yourself pushing through a heavy oak door into a quiet, cool space. You have a moment of disorientation. The air in here is different. It doesn't smell of salt and blood, but of something dry, dusty, and faintly sweet. Paper and ink. You are in the monastery's scriptorium. It is a library. Your world is one of spoken words. Your history is held in the sagas, grand poems memorized and recited around a fire, changing with each telling, alive and fluid. But this is something else entirely. Wooden shelves line the stone walls, filled not with scrolls, but with books, codices. Thick volumes bound in leather, filled with page after page of dried, scraped animal skin. Vellum. On a sloping wooden desk, a book lies open, the work of some monk interrupted by your arrival. You step closer, your wet boots silent on the stone floor. You look down, and for a moment, the chaos outside fades to a dull roar. You have never seen anything like it. The script is impossibly neat, a perfect, flowing river of black ink. But it is the illustrations that seize your attention. An intricate knotwork of vines and beasts, impossibly intertwined, frames the page. The colors are brilliant, jewel-like. A deep blue made from some stone you've never seen, a vibrant red, and a green as rich as the summer fields of your homeland. And there, catching the dim light from a high, narrow window, is the glint of real gold, beaten into a leaf so thin it seems to be made of light itself. You are a man of the axe, of the oar, of the shield. Your hands are calloused and scarred. You know the grain of wood, the heft of iron, the feel of a rope. This is an art of a different universe. You can't read the words. These strange symbols are meaningless to you, but you can read the effort. You can feel the patience. The sheer mind-numbing number of hours it must have taken one person, sitting in this quiet room, to create this. To create one page. And there are hundreds of pages in this one book. And there are dozens of books in this one room. This is a kind of wealth your people don't understand. You can't melt it down. You can't wear it. You can't trade it for swords or food. It's a wealth of time, of stillness, of dedication to something other than survival and conquest. It is a monument to creation, and you have just walked into it as an agent of pure destruction. A profound sense of unease, a hollowness in your gut, begins to grow. It's a feeling you've been ignoring for a long time, but here, in the silent presence of this patient work, it becomes impossible to deny. A voice from the doorway shatters the peace. Einar! What are you doing? Dreaming? Get what you can and put the rest to the torch? Ivar's orders! It's John, his face flushed with victory, his arms full of silver plates. He looks at the book in front of you with contempt. Useless parchments. Burn them. They say it's how these Christ men weave their spells. We'll give them a proper fire. He tosses a torch onto a pile of loose vellum in the corner. The dry skins catch instantly, and a hungry flame leaps upward. The smoke, thick and acrid, begins to fill the room, the smell of burning history, of burning knowledge. You feel a pang of something you cannot name. It feels like sacrilege, but that's their word, not yours. It feels like waste. It feels wrong. You turn away from the burning library, the beautiful, silent pages curling into black ash, and step back out into the light. The raid is over. The violence has subsided, replaced by the organized chaos of looting. Men are hauling livestock, sacks of grain, and terrified captives down to the longships. The air is thick with the smoke of the burning monastery. In the center of the courtyard, carried aloft on a large shield by 4 of his strongest warriors, sits Ivar. Ivar the Boneless. You've heard the stories of how he got his name. Some say a disease left his legs useless. Others that he is preternaturally flexible in battle. Whatever the truth, he never walks. He is always carried, observing everything from his shield throne, his eyes missing nothing. He is not a large man, not a physically imposing warrior like so many of the others. His power is in his gaze. He has pale, disturbingly intelligent eyes that seem to see right through you, weighing your worth, your fear, your usefulness, all in a single, cold glance. He embodies the Viking way, but not the roaring, passionate part of it. He is the cold, sharp, calculating mind behind the berserker's rage. As you watch, a group of warriors drags forward an old man, the abbot of this monastery. His face is bruised, but he holds himself with a quiet dignity that seems to infuriate his captors. They throw him on the ground before Ivar. "This is their chieftain," one of the warriors says. "He will not tell us where they have hidden the rest of the silver." Ivar looks down at the old man. He does not raise his voice. He does not rage. His tone is conversational, almost gentle, which is far more terrifying than any shout. "They say your God is a powerful one," Ivar says in his halting but clear grasp of the Saxon tongue. "Ask him to save you." The old abbot looks up, not at Ivar, but at the sky. He speaks, his voice clear and steady. "He will welcome me into his kingdom. It is you I pity, son of the North. You, who have a kingdom of nothing but blood and ash." A flicker of something, not anger, perhaps amusement, crosses Ivar's face. He looks away from the abbot and gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod to one of his men. The man steps forward, draws a long knife, and with one quick, efficient motion, cuts the old man's throat. There is no ceremony, no last words. Just a brutal, simple, and final act. Blood, shockingly red against the grey dust of the courtyard, pools on the ground. The triumphant roars of your comrades echo around you. They see this as a show of strength, of a leader who will not be defied. They see the power of the old gods asserting themselves over this weak new one. But you see something else. In Ivar's eyes, you see not passion, not fury, not even hatred. You see a complete and utter void. An emptiness. He had the man killed with the same lack of emotion he would use to discard a piece of spoiled meat. It was not personal. It was a calculation. An execution performed not for honor or vengeance, but simply to make a point, to ensure that the next village over would be far more cooperative. A profound and chilling emptiness settles over you, a silence that drowns out the shouts of victory. This is the glory you were promised. This cold, efficient butchery. The wealth you've gained today feels like ash in your hands. The honor feels like a shroud. You look at the body of the serene old man, at the smoke rising from the library filled with a knowledge you will never understand, and you look at your leader, a man revered for the cold void in his soul. The first, quiet seed of doubt, planted long ago on some other blood-soaked shore, has finally taken root in the salt, racked soil of your heart. You stand amidst the plunder, a victorious Viking warrior, and all you feel is the hollow ache of being utterly and completely lost. And you begin to wonder if there is another path. A path not of taking, but of making. A path away from the axe, and toward something you can't yet name, something you only caught a glimpse of. In the silent, illuminated pages of a book, just before it was consumed by the flames. The triumph of the raid feels like a phantom limb, a memory of a feeling that no longer connects to you. The roars of your shield, brothers, the scent of salt and monastery stone, the weight of newly won silver. It all recedes, replaced by the profound and unsettling quiet you found in the moments before the library burned. The image that truly haunts your waking hours and stalks your dreams is not one of glorious battle, but of Ivar the Boneless, his eyes as pale and cold as winter ice, ordering a man's death with the same flat indifference he might use to order a change of sail. That coldness has seeped into you. A chill that has nothing to do with the biting wind now sweeping across this captured land. The fires of the raid have died, and you are now mired in the damp, grey reality of a winter camp The first seeds of doubt you felt on that coast, now taking root in the cold, hard soil of your soul. You are in a place the Saxons called Repton, a town nestled in a bend of the River Trent. Now, it is simply a forward camp for the Great Heathen Army. The thrill of the voyage, the sharp, brutal purpose of the raid, has bled away into the endless, grinding monotony of waiting for the world to thaw. This is the reality of a warrior's life that the skalds conveniently forget to mention in their grand sagas. It is not an existence of constant, glorious bloodshed. It is an existence of mud. The mud plasters your leather boots, slicks the pathways between the wattle and daub huts, and seems to work its way into the very weave of your woolen cloak. Your world, once the vast and moving expanse of the sea, has shrunk to the size of this miserable, smoky town. The first thing that hits you each morning, before you even force your eyes open, is the smell. It's a thick, layered assault on your senses, a smell you've become accustomed to, but never truly ignore. At the base of it all is wood smoke, hanging heavy and damp in the air from 100 cooking fires that are never allowed to die. Woven into that is the rank, close smell of hundreds of unwashed men, the sour scent of sweat and grime, that even the winter chill cannot erase. Add to this the smell of the livestock. Cattle and sheep looted from the surrounding farms. Penned in makeshift enclosures, their animal stench mingling with the sharp, metallic tang of the smith's forge and the gut-wrenching aroma of the slaughtering pits. You've spent your life on ships and in camps, but the sheer concentration of it here, in a town built for a fraction of this number, is suffocating. A modern person would find it unbearable, a catalyst for immediate sickness. For you, it is simply the air you breathe. You drag yourself from your sleeping pallet, a bed of straw laid over rough wooden planks inside a commandeered Saxon home. Every muscle in your body echoes with a dull, persistent throb. This isn't the sharp pain of a battle wound, it's the deep, weary ache of inactivity and cold. In your modern life, you might imagine a Viking warrior to be a titan of strength, always ready for a fight. The reality is that life in a winter camp is a slow decay. The constant physical labor of rowing, fighting, and marching has been replaced with the dull tasks of mending gear, standing watch, and trying to stay warm. Your body, a machine built for violent motion, is seizing up in the damp and idleness. The chill in the air is a physical presence. It isn't the clean, crisp cold of a bright winter day you might imagine. It's a damp, gnawing cold that seems to radiate from the very earth. A cold that wool and leather can dull but never defeat. Inside the small hut, the air is thick with smoke from a central fire, pit that has no proper chimney, just a hole in the thatched roof. Your eyes sting, and a permanent layer of soot seems to coat the back of your throat. To stay inside is to slowly choke, to go outside is to freeze. This is the choice you face every single day. There is no central heating, no insulation in the walls. The structure is designed to keep the rain out, not the cold. For these people, and now for you, comfort is not a concept that exists. There is only the endless spectrum of discomfort, and you are merely choosing a different point on that spectrum each time you move. Your stomach growls, a hollow and familiar ache. It's a reminder that it is time for the first meal of the day, a thought that brings you no joy. You join the throng of warriors milling around the communal cooking fires. The meal is what it always is, a thick, greyish stew of boiled grain, likely barley or oats, with bits of salted meat or fish thrown in. It is scooped into your wooden bowl, and you eat it standing up, huddled near the fire for its meager warmth. There is no flavor, only sustenance. No variety, only repetition. You think of the feasts described in the sagas. Great halls filled with roasting pigs and overflowing horns of ale. Those are the rewards of victory, the celebrations. This slop is the fuel of war, the grim, bland reality that keeps the army alive through the winter. Your modern palate, accustomed to a universe of spices, sugars and salts, would reject this immediately. You devour it in seconds, because the alternative is starvation. Hunger is a constant companion, a dull pressure behind your ribs that never truly goes away. Your fellow warriors pass the time as men always have, gambling with dice carved from bone, wrestling in the mud, telling stories, and sharpening their weapons with a ritualistic focus that speaks more to their boredom than any impending battle. You hear their laughter, their boasts of past raids, and promises of future glories. But their voices sound distant, their cheer hollow. The doubt that took root in you has made you an observer, a stranger among your own people. You see them not as heroes from a saga, but as restless, violent men trapped in a cycle of waiting and wanting. They want silver, they want land, they want fame. You find that you no longer know what you want. The axe hanging at your belt feels heavier than it used to, its purpose less clear. Later that day, a jarl named Orm, a man whose beard is more scar tissue than hair, finds you mending a strap on your shield. He grunts your name, his voice a low rumble like stones grinding together. Einar, you have watch duty. The Christ House. He doesn't need to say more. You know the place. It's the small stone church at the center of the town. To your people, it is nothing sacred. It is simply the strongest, most defensible building available. The Christians, for all their weakness, knew how to build with stone. While your great halls are made of wood, vulnerable to fire, their god houses are fortresses. And so, it has become the army's treasure house, a storeroom for the most valuable plunder. Sacks of grain that will feed the army, barrels of all, and the locked chests of silver and gold that are the true measure of your success. Your job is not to defend it from the Saxons, who are either dead or have long since fled. Your job is to guard it from your own comrades. In a camp full of bored and greedy men, theft is as much a threat as any enemy army. You make your way towards it, your boots sinking into the muck. The church is a strange and alien sight. It's not large or grand, but it possesses a stark, unyielding permanence that the wooden longhouses lack. Its grey stone walls rise confidently from the mud, and a simple wooden cross still tops its roof, an ignored and irrelevant symbol. You feel a flicker of the same strange curiosity you felt in the monastery library. This building was made for a purpose utterly beyond your comprehension, a purpose of quiet reflection and worship that feels like a whisper from another world. You push open the heavy oak door, its iron hinges groaning in protest. The man you are relieving, a burly raider named Sten, gives you a curt nod and shoves past you, eager to get back to the warmth of a fire and the chance of a game of dice. The door thuds shut behind you, and you are plunged into a world of sudden, profound silence and cold. The main nave of the church is a chaotic jumble of stolen goods. Sacks of barley are piled high against one wall, nearly obscuring a carving of men with halos. Barrels of wine and ale, taken from a lord's cellar, are stacked where pews once stood. The air is thick with the smells of cold stone, damp dust, dry grain, and the faint, lingering scent of old incense you can't quite place. It is colder in here than it was outside. The stone walls seem to drink the warmth from your body, holding the deep, breathless chill of the grave. Light is scarce, filtering in thin, hazy shafts from the high, narrow windows, illuminating swirling dust motes in the still air. It's a tomb filled with treasure, and you are its lonely guardian. Your duty is simple. You walk the perimeter of the nave. You check the small side doors. You stand. You wait. You think. The silence is absolute, a stark contrast to the unending noise of the camp. The only sound is the soft scuff of your own boots on the stone floor and the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Hours pass, The dim light from the windows begins to fade as the afternoon wanes. The boredom you felt in the camp is replaced by a deep, hollow loneliness. It is in this silence that the disquiet in your soul grows loudest. You are a warrior without a battle, a raider with nothing to take. What are you, if not the man holding the axe? It's then that you hear it. A soft, scraping sound. A whisper of movement from a small chamber off to the side of the altar, a room whose door is partially ajar. Instinct takes over. Your hand goes to the hilt of your seeks, the short, single-edged sword at your belt. Your body tenses. A rat, you tell yourself. Or perhaps one of your comrades, trying to sneak in from a forgotten entrance. You move silently, your warrior's training overriding the lethargy of camp life. You place your hand on the rough wooden door and push it open slowly. The room is a scriptorium, a place for writing. It is small, with a single, larger window that provides better light. Shelves line one wall, though most are now empty. A heavy wooden desk dominates the space. And at that desk you see her. She is not a rat, nor a thief. She is a Saxon woman, a lay sister you now vaguely recall hearing about. Aethelflaed. Spared, the rumor went, because she could read the Saxons' maps and knew the lay of the land. The rivers, the marshes, the hidden roads. She is a tool for Ivar, a living map to be used when the spring campaign begins. She is bent over the desk, her concentration absolute. She is carefully, meticulously cleaning a sheet of parchment with a small knife. She does not cower. She does not scream. When the light shifts as you fill the doorway, she simply looks up. Her eyes meet yours. There is no terror in them. You have seen terror often enough to know its face. You see exhaustion and a deep, wary resignation. But beneath that, there is a spark of something else. A flicker of appraisal, of intelligence. She is not just seeing a Viking, a monster from the north. She is seeing a man. This silent, steady gaze is more disarming than any plea for mercy. The warrior's instinct in you, the one that screams threat and danger, is quieted by a profound sense of curiosity. You ached with it in the monastery, and here it is again, stronger this time. You stand there for a long moment, a silent tableau of two worlds colliding in a dusty, forgotten room. You, the destroyer, armed and armored. Her, the preserver, armed with nothing but a small knife and a piece of animal skin. You should say something, assert your authority. But the words don't come. Instead, you give a slight nod toward the parchment she holds. A gesture. A question. What are you doing? She understands. Her grasp of the Norse tongue is likely as poor as your grasp of her Saxon speech, but the intent is clear. She holds up the parchment, showing you a page covered in faded, elegant script. With her other hand, she points to a stack of similar pages, some damaged by water, some torn. She makes a gesture of cleaning, of saving. She is trying to salvage the books, to protect what little remains of her life's work from the damp and the rats. You find your voice, the Old Norse sounding rough and guttural in the quiet room. Why? It is the only word you can think to ask. Why bother? This place is yours now. All of this belongs to the army. Her work is meaningless. She looks at you, a faint line appearing between her brows, as if trying to understand the question itself. She cannot explain it to you in words you would both understand. So instead, she puts down the page she was cleaning and reaches for another. She handles it with a reverence you have only ever seen men show to a perfectly forged sword or a finely crafted helmet. She lays it carefully on the desk, turning it so you can see. You step closer, your leather boots silent on the stone. And then you see it. It is a page from an illuminated manuscript. You have seen books before, in the monasteries you've plundered. You always saw them as curiosities, things to be burned or torn apart for the jewels on their covers. You have never truly looked at one. Now you do. The page glows with a life of its own, even in the fading light. An enormous, intricately woven letter begins the text, a vibrant P that coils and twists like a nest of serpents, their bodies a rich tapestry of deep blues, vibrant reds, and a green as brilliant as the first leaves of spring. And woven throughout the knotwork, catching the dim light and throwing it back at you, is the unmistakable gleam of real gold. You've seen gold before. You've killed for it. You've held it in your hands, felt its cold, heavy weight. But you have never seen it used like this. It is not a coin, not a bracelet, not a talk to be worn for status. It is a thread of captured sunlight, used to make a word beautiful. Aethelflaed sees the wonder on your face. Gently she points to the colors. She says a Saxon word, lapis, and points to the deep blue. Then she makes a grinding motion with her hand. She points to a small, clay pot containing a fine, brilliant powder. She is explaining how the colors are made, from crushed stones and minerals, from plants and earth, all painstakingly ground down and mixed with egg white to make paint. She picks up a quill, dips it in a pot of black ink, and shows you how the tiny, perfect letters are formed, each one a separate, deliberate act of creation. You are mesmerized. You reach out a hesitant hand, your fingers rough and collars from the oar and the axe haft. You gently touch the surface of the page. It is not paper. It is vellum, smooth and cool like fine skin. She explains, with more gestures than words, how it is made from the hide of a calf, scraped and stretched and treated for weeks, until it becomes this perfect, luminous surface. A realization washes over you, so powerful it makes you feel unsteady. The axe you carry at your belt was forged in a day. The ship you sailed on was built in a season. A raid, the defining act of your life, is over in a matter of hours. Everything in your world is about speed, strength, and immediate violent impact. What you are touching represents the absolute opposite of your existence. This single page, with its impossibly intricate details and its colors crushed from the very earth, might have taken a person a month to create. An entire book like this, a lifetime. You look from the beautiful, patient page to your own hands. They are tools of destruction. They know how to grip a shield, how to pull an oar, how to swing a blade. They can shatter a door, a shield, a skull. They have never been used to create something so delicate, so patient, so permanent. The sagas your people tell are grand, but they exist only on the breath of the scald. They are smoke, vanishing into the night air. This page is real. It is tangible. It is a piece of a soul made solid, a story that will exist long after the person who wrote it has turned to dust. In that dusty, silent room, a chasm opens up inside you. On one side is the life you have always known, the ship, the shield wall, the plunder, the brotherhood of warriors united in glorious violence. On the other side is this quiet, patient, world-building power contained in a book. It is a power not of the arm, but of the hand. Not of the shout, but of the whisper. For the first time, you feel the profound poverty of your own life. You have taken so much, silver, lives, land, but you have never made anything. The glorious path of the Viking warrior suddenly seems brutish, simple, and impossibly small. The heavy thud of the church door swinging open breaks the spell. Another warrior, come to relieve you of your post, calls your name. His voice is loud, jarring, and obscene in the quiet scriptorium. You pull your hand back from the page as if burned. You look at Aethelflaed one last time. She simply meets your gaze, her expression unreadable. You turn without a word and walk out of the small room, leaving the world of whispers and parchment behind. You step back into the main nave, past the piles of grain and barrels of ale, and push your way out into the cold, muddy reality of the camp. The noise of the men, the smell of the smoke, the oppressive grey sky, it all rushes back in. But it is different now. Something inside you has been fundamentally and irrevocably altered. The camp no longer feels like your world. It feels like a cage. The seed of doubt that was planted in the monastery has been watered in this dusty room, and it has begun to sprout, pushing its way through the hard, barren ground of your warrior's heart. You now know that there is more than one way to leave a mark on the world, and that the mark of an axe is, perhaps, the most fleeting of them all. The memory of the winter camp still clings to you, a cold weight in your mind that has nothing to do with the frost. It is a memory not of feasting and saga, telling but of a quiet, candlelit room filled with the scent of old parchment and beeswax. You can still see her, Aethelflaed, her fingers tracing the impossibly delicate lines of a painted letter, her voice a low murmur explaining a world built not with axe, bites and shield, splinters, but with patience and ink. Her world was one of creation, a slow, deliberate act of bringing beauty into being. Your world, the one that now stirs and awakens all around you, has only ever been one of taking things apart. That contrast has been a thorn in your soul all winter, a quiet question that followed you from the scriptorium back to the smoky longhouse, a question that rings louder now with the coming of spring. For you know what the thaw means. The rivers will swell, the ground will harden enough for marching, and the Great Heathen Army, like a hibernating beast, will stretch its claws and look for fresh blood. The conversations you have with Aethelflaed have become a secret garden in your mind, a place of peace you retreat to, but now the drums of war threaten to tear down its walls. The world is thawing into a miserable, stinking mess. You'd always imagined spring as a time of rebirth, of green shoots and clean air. The reality of a 9th century Viking overwintering camp is something else entirely. It is a transformation from frozen filth to liquid filth. The packed snow and ice that hid the camp's winter, long accumulation of waste, are now melting, releasing a stench that catches in the back of your throat. It's a complex, layered aroma of human refuse from the latrine pits, rotting food scraps, animal dung, and the damp, musty smell of hundreds of unwashed bodies living in close quarters. The ground under your leather boots is not firm earth, but a thick, sucking morass of mud and muck that tries to steal your footing with every step. Your comrades seem oblivious, their spirits rising with the temperature. You hear the renewed vigor in their laughter, the sharp ring of hammers on anvils as they repair mail rings and helmet plates. To them, this mud and stink is the smell of opportunity. It is the smell of the raiding season to come. To you, it just smells like rot. Your days are filled with the familiar, grinding tasks of a warrior preparing for a campaign. You sit on a damp log outside the longhouse you share with a dozen other men, your whetstone in hand, drawing it rhythmically along the curved edge of your axe. The motion is second nature, a muscle memory ingrained through years of practice. You feel the fine grit of the stone against the steel, see the bright metal emerge from the winter's tarnish. You are supposed to feel a thrill in this, a connection to the tool of your trade, the extension of your will upon the world. Instead, you just feel an immense, bone-deep weariness. You look at your hands, calloused, scarred, strong, and you remember Aethelflaed's. Her fingers were stained with ink, not blood, and they moved with a careful precision that held a different kind of power. Your hands destroy, hers create. The thought sits like a stone in your gut. Around you, the work continues. Men are stitching leather straps on their shields, boiling and shaping the thick hide to make it tougher. Others meticulously oil their swords, the long, sharp blades gleaming in the weak sunlight, whispering of the deadly work to come. It's a factory of violence, and you are just another cog in the machine. Your stomach growls, a hollow ache that has been your constant companion for months. The winter stores are nearly gone. The daily ration is a thin, fell, tasting stew of salted fish, dried peas, and whatever edible roots could be dug from the frozen ground. Sometimes there is hard, dry bread that you have to soak in the stew to make it soft enough to chew. You watch a group of men gambling with knuckle bones, their laughter loud and raw, and you wonder how they can have so much energy. You feel drained, hollowed out. It's not just the poor food. It's the constant, low-grade discomfort of your existence. Your wool tunic and trousers are perpetually damp from the misty air and the wet ground. At night, you sleep on a bed of straw teeming with lice, crammed next to snoring, farting men in a smoky hall where the air is so thick you could carve it. This is the glorious life of a Viking warrior that the skalds sing of back home. They don't sing about the endless damp, the itching skin, the gnawing hunger or the soul, crushing boredom between the moments of terror and slaughter. They only sing of the gold and the glory. You are beginning to suspect the gold isn't worth the price, and the glory is a lie. Ivar intends to break the back of Mercia. Ulf says, dropping down on the log beside you. He spits a brown stream of chewed herbs into the mud. Heard it from Jorn, who heard it from one of the captains. A full campaign. They say the monasteries there are so rich, the chalices are made of solid gold. You just nod, not trusting yourself to speak, and continue running the stone along your axe blade. The methodical shiing. Shiing is a sound you can hide behind. Ulf claps you on the shoulder, his enthusiasm a jarring contrast to your own heavy silence. Think of it, Einar will march on their greatest burr. A proper siege. The fighting will be legendary. The plunder enough to make us all jarls back home. You look up from your axe and meet his eyes. You see the fire in them, the genuine, uncomplicated lust for battle and wealth that you once shared. You see the belief that this is what a man is for, to take what he can, to carve his name onto the world with a sharp edge, to live a life so bright and violent that it will be sung about long after he is dead. You look at him, and you feel like you are from two different worlds. All you can picture is another monastery library, filled with irreplaceable knowledge, going up in flames. You see another panicked crowd of civilians, their faces masks of terror, cut down as they try to flee. The glory he speaks of now feels like a sickness, a fever dream you are desperate to wake from. The thought of participating in another massacre, of being one of the wolves that descends upon the sheep, fills you not with anticipation, but with a cold, nauseating wariness that settles deep in your marrow. The summons comes a few days later. Ivar wants to address the army. You all gather in the muddy field that serves as a training ground, forming a great, restless sea of leather and iron. You find your place among your shield brothers, the familiar weight of their presence around you offering a strange, unwelcome comfort. Then he appears, Ivar the Boneless. He doesn't stride, he flows through the crowd, carried on a shield by 4 of his largest huskarls. He is not a physically imposing man in the way that other Viking leaders are. He doesn't have the hulking shoulders of a berserker or the scarred face of a brawler. His power is in his stillness, in his eyes. They are pale, intelligent, and utterly devoid of warmth. They sweep over the assembled army, and you feel as though he is weighing the soul of every man present. His voice isn't a roar. It's quiet, almost conversational. Yet it carries across the entire field, cutting through the murmuring crowd and demanding absolute silence. He speaks of the plan. He doesn't use words of glory or honor. He speaks like a butcher discussing a side of meat. He talks of strategy, of supply lines, of weaknesses in the Mercian defenses that his scouts have discovered. He lays out a campaign designed not simply to win, but to annihilate, to crush their army, sack their towns, and burn their fields, to dismantle their entire kingdom piece by piece until nothing is left but fear and ash. He wants to unmake their world. "We will march on the burh at Repton," he says, his voice as sharp as glass. "We will break its walls, and we will winter in their great hall. Their king will bow to us, or we will send him to his Christ on a pyre of his own making." A roar goes up from the army. A primal, deafening wave of sound, the clash of 1,000 spear butts on 1,000 shields. It's the sound of hunger, of ambition, of unified, violent purpose. It washes over you, but you feel nothing. The knot in your stomach tightens. This isn't a battle, it's an extermination. And in that moment, listening to the architect of it all, you know you cannot be a part of it. The path of the warrior has led you here, to the brink of a slaughter you have no heart for, and you realize with chilling certainty that you must find a different path, or lose what little is left of yourself. The decision, terrifying and absolute, solidifies in your mind. You will not go to Repton. You have to get out, but desertion is a death sentence. If you are caught, Ivar will make an example of you, that the skalds will sing about for 100 years, and not in a good way. You need a chance, a moment of chaos where one man can disappear. Your chance comes 2 weeks later under a moonless, star-draped sky. The Great Heathen Army is a dark serpent coiled around the stout wooden walls of the Mercian town. The main assault is planned for dawn, but Ivar has ordered a series of night skirmishes, probing attacks designed to test the defenses, exhaust the garrison, and sow terror. You are part of one such raiding party, your shield locked with the men beside you, forming a small, mobile wall of linden wood and iron. The air is cold and tense, thick with the smell of damp earth and the metallic tang of fear. The only sounds are the whisper of commands, the rustle of leather, and the soft thud of boots on the turf. You move forward through the darkness, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. This is it. Your senses are screamingly alive. You see the faint orange glow of the torches on the town's palisade. You hear the distant cry of a sentry. This is the world you know. The familiar dance of approach. The building tension before the crash of contact. But tonight, your mind isn't on the enemy in front of you. It's on the chaos that is about to erupt. The chaos that will be your salvation and your potential doom. A volley of arrows hisses from the walls, thudding into shields around you. A man to your left grunts and goes down, an arrow sprouting from his throat. The command is shouted, "Forward! To the wall!" You break into a loping run, your shield held high. The world dissolves into a confusing storm of shadows, shouts, and the clang of steel. You reach the wooden palisade, and the fighting becomes intimate and brutal. Saxons lean over the top, thrusting with spears, while your comrades hack at the wood with their axes or try to gain purchase to climb. It is a whirlwind of desperate, clumsy violence. A spearhead scrape sparks off the iron boss of your shield, the impact jarring your entire arm. You thrust your own spear back into the darkness, feeling it meet resistance. You don't know if you hit wood or flesh. It doesn't matter. You are part of the tide, the press of bodies, the grunting, sweating, killing machine. But you are watching, waiting. Your eyes scan the chaos for the perfect moment. It comes when a section of the shield wall near you buckles. A Saxon charge spills out from a side gate, trying to flank your group. Suddenly, the ordered line dissolves into a frantic melee of individual combats. This is the confusion you need. A large, bearded Saxon warrior bellows a challenge and rushes you, his own axe held high. You meet his charge, your shields crashing together with a sound like splitting thunder. He is strong, pushing you back. You lock eyes for a split second, two men caught in a storm, trying to end one another. In a normal fight, you would use your footing, find an opening. But this isn't a normal fight. This is your exit. As he shoves you back again, you do something you have never done in battle. You let your feet tangle. you allow your balance to fail. With a cry that is only half feigned, you throw yourself backwards, twisting as you fall to make it look as though his blow sent you reeling. You hit the muddy ground hard, the impact knocking the wind from your lungs. Your helmeted head smacks against the earth, and for a moment, the world is a kaleidoscope of flashing lights and roaring sound. The Saxon, seeing you fall, moves past you, seeking another target in the swirling melee. The tide of battle, as you prayed it would, literally washes over you. You curl into a ball, protecting your head with your arms as your own shield brothers. Caught up in the fury of the fight, thunder past. A heavy boot catches you squarely in the ribs, and you bite back a scream as a lance of pure fire shoots through your side. The pain is real, sharp, and agonizing. Another foot stomps on your leg. You lie still, forcing your breathing to be shallow, your face pressed into the cold, damp mud that smells of iron and churned earth. The sounds of the skirmish are all around you. The screams of the wounded, the clash of weapons, the guttural war cries in Norse and Saxon. It is the soundtrack of your entire life, and you pray you are hearing it for the last time. You let the darkness at the edge of your vision creep in, feigning unconsciousness. A fallen warrior among the other casualties of this pointless, violent night. Slowly, mercifully, the chaotic symphony of battle begins to recede as the skirmish moves on, leaving you behind in the wounded silence. You don't know how long you lie there. Time becomes a smear of pain and cold. You drift in and out of a shallow, fitful state of awareness, the throbbing in your ribs a constant, miserable anchor to reality. Eventually, the last echoes of the fighting die away completely. They are replaced by a silence so profound it feels heavier than any sound. The world has been scrubbed clean of noise. There are no birds, no insects, only the whisper of a cold wind sighing over the field. Slowly, carefully, you push yourself up. Every muscle screams in protest. Your ribs feel like they're on fire, each breath a fresh torment. You look around. The pre-dawn light is just beginning to ghost across the eastern sky, turning the world from black to a soft, uniform grey. A thick mist clings to the ground, muffling shapes and swallowing distances. The field is a wreck. Dropped axes, splintered shields, and the dark, still forms of the dead are scattered across the churned-up earth. A dead Saxon lies a few feet away, his eyes open and staring sightlessly at the pale sky. You feel a pang, not of triumph, but of a shared, tragic humanity. You are utterly and completely alone. The Great Heathen Army is gone. They have pulled back to their camp to prepare for the dawn assault, assuming you are dead. Another nameless casualty to be counted in the morning. A wave of dizziness washes over you, born of pain and blood loss. You look down and see a dark stain spreading on your trousers from a gash on your thigh. It's not deep, but it's bleeding sluggishly. You take a breath, the cold, misty air shocking your lungs. This is it. The irrevocable decision. You have done it. You have deserted the only brotherhood you have ever known. There is no going back to the longhouse, to the familiar faces, to the brutal certainty of your old life. Ivar's justice for deserters is swift and legendarily cruel. And in front of you, the Saxon town and the hostile kingdom of Mercia would offer no sanctuary to a wounded Viking. You have traded the warrior's path for the terrifying uncertainty of a lone wanderer in a hostile land. You have stepped off the edge of your world. As you stand there, shivering, wounded, and alone in the heart of enemy territory, a strange feeling pushes past the pain and the fear. It is a fragile, terrifying, and exhilarating sense of freedom. Your saga is no longer written for you. For the first time in your life, you have a blank page. The chaos of the skirmish is a fading echo in your mind, a phantom roar of clashing shields and splintering wood that now seems a lifetime away. But the pain is real, a sharp, insistent throbbing in your calf where a Saxon seeks found its mark. You remember the deliberate fall, the dizzying confusion of the retreat passing over you like a tide, and then the suffocating silence of the aftermath. You traded the only brotherhood you have ever known for this, the cold, damp earth of an enemy kingdom, a gash in your leg, and the terrifying, absolute certainty that you are utterly alone. The pre-dawn air is thin and sharp in your lungs, carrying the smell of wood smoke and wet leaves. You have made your choice. You have stepped off the warrior's path, and now, lying wounded in the gloom, you have no idea where your feet will lead you, or if you even have the strength to follow. You force yourself to move, gritting your teeth as fire lances up your leg. Every instinct, honed by years of raiding and campaigning, screams at you to find water, to find shelter. The forest around you is not the open, sun-dappled woodland of Sagas. It is a dense, primeval tangle of oak and ash, their ancient limbs clawing at a sky the color of slate. The ground is a treacherous carpet of slick roots and moss-covered stones, and the air itself feels heavy, thick with the smell of decay and damp earth. You drag your wounded leg, leaning heavily on a fallen branch you fashioned into a crude crutch. This is the true England, the Anglo land, not just the fortified burhs and rich monasteries you came to plunder, but this vast, untamed wilderness that seems to swallow all sound. Your modern mind, a ghost passenger in your head, screams at the sheer folly of your situation. You have no map, no compass, no iodine for your wound, no waterproof gear. You are a Norseman, a Viking, a name that inspires terror, but stripped of your shield, brothers, your longship, and the structure of the army, you are just a man bleeding and lost. The hunger begins as a dull ache and soon sharpens into a gnawing emptiness in your belly. Back at the winter camp, there were always cauldrons bubbling, bread, however hard and stale, and all to dull the senses. You realize with a sickening lurch how you never once considered where it all came from. It simply appeared, the result of plunder. Now, the forest offers you nothing but inedible leaves and the taunting chatter of birds. You feel a profound, almost childish dependency you never knew you had. The cold is a more insidious enemy. Your leather tunic and wool breeches are soaked with dew and drying blood, their insulating properties gone. The chill sinks directly into your bones, making you shiver uncontrollably. This is the reality of life before central heating, before Gore-Tex. You feel the constant, attritional drain on your body's energy, because to be cold was not a temporary discomfort, to be banished by turning a dial. It was a persistent, life-threatening condition that you had to actively fight from moment to moment. A battle that consumed precious calories you didn't have. Your world shrinks to the next painful step, the next gasp of air, the next scan of the hostile woods. It is in this state of raw, animalistic desperation, slumped against the trunk of a massive yew tree, that you are found. A sound snaps you from your stupor. The gentle crack of a twig. Your hand instinctively goes to the hilt of your seeks, the short blade that is your only remaining comfort. But your muscles are slow and clumsy. A figure emerges from the dense undergrowth, and your heart hammers against your ribs. It is not a Saxon warrior, but a woman. It is Aethelflaed. She looks different from how you remember her in the semi-darkness of the church scriptorium. Her simple robes are smudged with dirt and snagged by thorns. Her face is pale and strained, but her eyes, when they meet yours, hold not just fear, but a sharp, assessing intelligence. You are the monster from her nightmares, a warrior from the heathen army that destroyed her home and murdered her brethren, now helpless and bleeding at the foot of a tree. A long, tense moment hangs between you. It could end with a scream that brings Saxon patrols, or with her fading back into the trees, leaving you to your fate. She does neither. Her gaze drops to your leg, to the crude, dirt-caked scrap of cloth you've tied around the wound. Her lips thin into a determined line. Without a word, she approaches, her movements cautious, like someone approaching a wounded wolf. You watch her, your hand still resting on your knife, a silent standoff in the heart of the woods. She leads you. It's not an act of kindness, not at first. It feels more like pragmatism, like a shepherd retrieving a lost, dangerous ram. You follow, the pain in your leg a constant, grinding agony. She moves through the forest with a quiet confidence that you, for all your skills as a warrior, lack completely. She knows the paths that are not paths, the game trails and dry creek beds that leave the smallest sign. It takes what feels like an eternity, a slow, agonizing journey that blurs into a green and grey haze of pain and exhaustion. Finally, you smell it. A more concentrated scent of wood smoke, carefully managed to rise slowly and dissipate among the canopy. She brings you to a place hidden in a shallow dell, a makeshift community so well concealed you would have walked right past it. It is a village of refugees, a testament to desperation and survival. There are no proud timber halls here, only squat, crude shelters made of bent saplings and woven branches, plastered with mud and leaves. What the Saxons call wattle and daub. The people who emerge from the smoky interiors are the ones the sagas never mention, the old men, the women, the children, the ones who could not fight and could only flee. When they see you, a hush falls over the small clearing. Every eye fixes on you, and in their gaze you see a reflection of what you are, what you have been. You are the nightmare made flesh. Your height, the fair hair braided in the northern style, the remnants of your warrior's gear. It all screams Viking. A mother instinctively pulls her child behind her skirt. An old man's hand tightens on a wood axe that is a tool, not a weapon. You feel their terror like a physical force. It's a fear you have cultivated and used your entire life. But to be on the receiving end, to be the sole focus of it, is a profoundly unnerving experience. Stripped of your shield, brothers, the bravado and group identity that made you invincible vanishes, leaving you exposed and, for the first time, deeply ashamed. They are not seeing Einar, the man. They are seeing the Great Heathen Army, the burning monastery, the slain husband or son. Aethelflaed speaks to them in a low, urgent tone. You don't understand all the words of her Saxon dialect, but you understand the gesturing towards your wounded leg. The shake of her head. She is not vouching for you. She is explaining you, like a strange and dangerous piece of jetsam washed ashore by the tide of war. Your first days are a feverish blur. Aethelflaed cleans your wound, not with the rough wine-soaked rags of an army surgeon, but with boiled water and a poultice of what you later learn is yarrow, a plant known to staunch bleeding. It stings, but it is a clean, healing pain. You are given a space in a shared shelter, a dry patch of earth and bracken to lie on. You are fed a thin porridge of oats and barley, a taste so bland and unfamiliar to your palate, which is used to salted fish and roasted meats. You eat it with a desperate gratitude that humbles you. During this time, you are utterly useless, a burden. You watch the life of the camp unfold around you. It is a life of constant, unceasing labor. From the first light of dawn until the last embers of dusk, everyone has a task. Women grind grain on stone querns, their shoulders stooped with the effort. Men repair tools or venture out in small, cautious parties to hunt or snare rabbits. Children are set to work gathering firewood or fetching water. It is a fragile ecosystem of communal survival, and you are a foreign body, a predator laid low in the midst of the flock. As strength returns to your limbs, so does the expectation of work. Your body, your strength, is the only currency you have to offer. Aethelflaed, now the reluctant bridge between you and the Saxon refugees, tells you that the fence of a small goat pen needs mending. She hands you a billhook, its curved blade worn smooth with use. You take the tool, its wooden handle familiar in a way, yet completely alien. Your hands were made for an axe. They know balance, speed, the percussive shock of a killing blow. They do not know this. The fence is a simple wattle construction, a line of hazel stakes with thinner, pliable saplings woven between them. The task seems simple, but your first attempts are clumsy. You apply too much force, snapping the brittle branches. You struggle to find the rhythm of the over and underweave. A small boy, no older than 10, watches you with wide, curious eyes before wordlessly coming over, and, with his small, nimble fingers, showing you the correct way to bend the wood without breaking it. You feel a flush of embarrassment, a giant of a Norse warrior being schooled by a child. But you swallow your pride, watch him, and learn. You spend the entire day at it. Your muscles, conditioned for the explosive energy of combat, ache with the unfamiliar strain of repetitive, patient labor. But as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows through the trees, you look at your work. A section of the fence, once broken and gaping, is now a tight, intricate weave, strong and secure. The goats butt against it inquisitively, but it holds. And you feel something you have never felt after a raid, after a victory. Not the wild, fleeting exhilaration of plunder, but a quiet, deep, and profoundly abiding satisfaction. You made this. You did not break it. You did not take it. You built it. It is a small thing, a simple fence, but it feels more real than all the silver you ever looted. Your next task is carving. A wooden bowl you are using splits, and an old man named Leofwine, whose face is a roadmap of wrinkles, wordlessly hands you a chunk of birch wood and a small, sharp knife. "Make another," he grunts, his tone not unkind, but bluntly practical. You sit with the wood in your lap, turning it over and over. You think of the master artisans who carved the intricate dragon heads on your longship. This is a task that requires not strength, but finesse and foresight. You must see the bowl inside the block of wood before you begin. Your first few cuts are too deep, gouging the wood awkwardly. But slowly, you learn to read the grain, to shave away thin curls of wood, to work with the material instead of against it. The process is meditative. Your entire world shrinks to the feel of the knife in your hand and the slow emergence of a shape. Hours pass. The camp fills with the sounds of evening, the low murmur of conversations, the crackle of the communal fire. When you are done, you hold in your hand a rough, slightly lopsided, but undeniably functional bowl. It holds no monetary value. It would be ignored in any Viking horde. Yet, as you run your thumb over its imperfect, hand-carved surface, you feel a sense of ownership and connection that no piece of stolen Saxon gold ever gave you. The final, and most transformative, lesson comes from the earth itself. The refugees have cleared a small, hidden plot of land to plant what little seed they could bring with them. Their plough is a simple ard, a wooden frame tipped with a small iron share that doesn't turn the soil so much as it scratches a furrow in its surface. It's too heavy for one man to pull. You, with your warrior's build, are yoked to it alongside another man, a farmer whose village was burned by your own people. You lean into the harness, the rough leather digging into your shoulders. The work is brutal. It is a slow, grinding torture. Every step is a monumental effort as the ard's tip catches on rocks and roots. You feel the strain in your back, your thighs, a deep, burning ache that is utterly different from the focused readiness of a shield wall. That was a tension of poised lethality. This is a tension of pure, generative effort. You smell the soil, rich and loamy, the scent of life itself. You see the worms writhing in the newly turned furrow. And for the first time, you truly understand. You see the entire cycle. This back-breaking work creates the furrow, A woman follows behind you, carefully dropping precious seeds of barley into the ground. If the rains come, if the sun shines, if the deer don't eat the shoots, this soil will produce grain. That grain will be ground into flour. That flour will be baked into bread. And that bread will keep these people alive through the coming winter. You realize with the force of a physical blow the immense, year-long struggle contained within a single sack of grain. The very sacks you used to heave onto your longship without a second thought. You had always lived at the end of the chain, taking the finished product. Now you are at the very beginning, pouring your own sweat and blood into the soil to create it. You understand that true wealth isn't a chest of silver. It's the fertility of the land and the strength to till it. Slowly, imperceptibly, things begin to change. Your work does not go unnoticed. The children no longer flee when you approach. The women still avert their eyes, but there is less tension in their shoulders. One evening, as you are cleaning your new bowl by the stream, the old man, Leofwine, sits down beside you. He doesn't speak for a long time, just watches the water flow. Finally, he looks at your hands. They are no longer the hands of a warrior. The axe, caluses on your palms are still there, but they are overlaid with new ones from the billhook and the plough harness. Your fingernails are rimmed with dirt. The earth knows no difference between a Saxon hand and a Dane's. He says, his voice a low rumble. It asks only for the work. It is not forgiveness. It is not acceptance. It is a simple statement of fact, a recognition that you have become part of the rhythm of this place. Your conversations with Aethelflaed continue, often late at night by the dying embers of the fire when the rest of the camp is asleep. She tells you of the books she misses, of the quiet order of the monastery, a world built on learning and preservation. You listen, speaking little of your own past. There are no words to explain the hollowness you felt, the weariness with the endless cycle of violence. But she seems to understand anyway. She sees the change in you, sees the way you watch the children play, the way your hands, once instruments of destruction, are now always busy mending, carving, building. One evening, you are sitting alone, watching the sunset. The sky is a brilliant tapestry of orange and purple. The sounds of the camp are a comforting backdrop, a mother's soft lullaby, the bleating of a goat, the low murmur of conversation. You look at your hands stained with soil and feel a sense of peace that is deeper and more real than any warrior's boast. It is a fragile peace, you know. The war still rages beyond this hidden dell, but here, in this small community of survivors, you have found something you didn't even know you were searching for. You have exchanged the axe for the adze, the path of the destroyer for the path of the maker. The weaver's shuttle of fate has moved in a way you could never have predicted, and for the first time in a long, long time, you feel a quiet, profound sense of purpose. You have begun to build a life, instead of just taking one. The fragile peace you have earned feels like a borrowed cloak, warm but ill-fitting. For months, the rhythms of this hidden Saxon settlement have remade you. The ache in your back comes not from rowing a longship, but from turning the soil. The caluses on your hands are not from the haft of an axe, but from the handle of a chisel, the rough surface of a fence post, the repetitive friction of a primitive hand drill. You have traded the warrior's path for the weaver's shuttle, moving back and forth between the simple tasks of survival and the slow, arduous work of earning trust. In the eyes of these refugees, the people you once terrorized, you have begun to see a flicker of acceptance. In the quiet conversations with Aethelflaed, as you help her grind herbs or mend a faded tunic, you have felt the first true thaws of a winter that has gripped your soul for a lifetime. You are no longer Einar the raider. Here, in this damp, and quiet hollow of the Northumbrian woods, you are just Einar, the mender of things. And you have found a startling, profound satisfaction in that. The change begins not with a war horn, but with the quiet creeping of a deeper cold. The dampness in the air now bites, and the mornings are painted with a frost that glimmers like shattered glass on the withered leaves. This is the true challenge of your new life, a battle fought not with steel but with preparation. Every day is a race against the coming winter. You spend your time reinforcing the daub and wattle walls of the small huts, mixing clay and dung and reeds with your bare hands until they are numb. The smell is earthy and unpleasant, a constant reminder of how thin the barrier is between your small community and the freezing death that winter promises. You help split logs, the shock of the axe, maul jarring your arms, your breath pluming in the frigid air. You think of the great halls of your people, with their roaring central fires, and then you look at the meager piles of wood stacked beside each hut. Here, fuel is as precious as food. A fire is for cooking, and for a short while in the evening to keep the chill at bay before you huddle under layers of wool and animal skins for a long, cold night. Your stomach is a constant, dull ache. You've grown used to it. The diet here is a monotonous rotation of what can be foraged, hunted, or harvested from the small, hidden plots of land. Thin barley porridge in the morning, perhaps with a few dried berries if the stores are holding. A midday meal might be a piece of hard, dark bread and some cheese, or the remnants of a rabbit stew stretched thin with roots and weeds. You have learned the names of plants you once would have trampled underfoot without a thought. You can identify the right kind of root to boil, the leaves that can soothe your cough, the mushrooms that won't kill you. It's a knowledge far more complex and vital than knowing the weak point in a shield or the best angle to throw a spear. This knowledge is life, pure and simple. Still, a deep, primal part of you. The part forged in longship voyages and Viking feasts, yearns for the taste of roasted meat, the heavy richness of all, the feeling of a truly full belly. You push the thought away. Hunger is a small price to pay for peace. One morning, while checking a line of snares you set at the edge of the woods, you feel it. A change in the stillness. It's not a sound, but an absence of sound. The birds have fallen silent. The rustle of small animals in the undergrowth has ceased. It is the deep, listening silence of prey that has sensed a predator. Your instincts, varied but not dead, scream a warning. Your hand of its own accord drifts to your belt, searching for the phantom weight of an axe that is no longer there. You stand frozen, straining your ears, your eyes scanning the dense tree line. You tell yourself it is a fox or a wandering wolf. But the feeling in your gut, the cold dread coiling there, knows better. This is the silence that precedes men. You retreat back to the settlement, your steps light, your body low. The quiet satisfaction you felt only moments ago has dissolved into a familiar, nausea-eating adrenaline. You find Aethelflaed tending to the small herb garden, her hands deftly plucking the last hardy leaves before the frost claims them. Her face, usually so calm and composed, is creased with a small frown of concentration. You look at her at the gentle, creative purpose in her every movement, and a fierce, protective instinct surges through you. This is what you must defend, this fragile, beautiful world of making and mending. Someone is coming. You say, your voice a low rasp, the old Norse accent thicker than you intended. She looks up, her eyes widening slightly. She has come to trust your instincts about the wild, but this is a different tone. This is the voice of the warrior you have tried so hard to bury. Soldiers, she whispers, the word hanging like smoke in the cold air. I don't know, but the woods are watching. We should be ready. The peace of the settlement is shattered. Your words spread like fire through dry grass. Panic, barely contained for months, begins to surface in the faces of the refugees. They are farmers, weavers, and scribes, not fighters. They fled the violence of your people, and now violence has found them again. An old man named Cuthbert, who acts as their informal elder, approaches you. His face is a mask of weary fear. "What do we do?" he asks, his voice trembling. "We cannot fight. We can only run." "Run where?" You counter, your voice sharper than you mean it to be. "Into the open, in the dead of winter. They will ride us down. We would be trading a quick death here for a slow one in a frozen ditch." You look at their terrified faces, at the children clinging to their mother's legs, and you know there is only one choice. Your past, the one you buried in the soft earth at the edge of the woods, must be unearthed. "There is another way," you say, your voice heavy with the weight of the words. "We fight." A shocked silence greets your proclamation. To them, you are the quiet Northman, the one with skillful hands who speaks their tongue haltingly. You are the one who helped them build this sanctuary. The idea of you as a leader in battle is as alien as the idea of a wolf guarding sheep. "Fight," Cuthbert sputters. "With what? We have wood axes and knives!" "They will have swords, spears." Mail. You have more than you think. You interrupt, the mind of the warrior taking over, assessing and planning with a speed that feels both natural and terrifying. You have the terrain, you have surprise, and you have me. You leave them to their fearful muttering and walk purposefully to the spot, just beyond the last hut, where a large, flat stone marks a patch of disturbed earth. You dig with your bare hands, the cold soil numbing your fingers. The thing you buried wasn't just a weapon, it was a promise to yourself. A promise to leave the killing behind. Now, you must break that promise to protect the very life it allowed you to build. Your fingers close around the familiar, worn leather of the handle. You pull it free. Your axe. The blade is dark, stained with old battles, but the edge is still keen. It feels impossibly heavy and shockingly light all at once. It is a part of you, an extension of your arm you had tried to amputate. Holding it again sends a cold jolt through your body, a mix of disgust and grim familiarity. When you walk back into the center of the settlement, the axe held loosely at your side, the fearful whispers die. They are no longer looking at Einar the Mender. They are looking at a Viking. The rest of the day is a blur of frantic, desperate preparation, driven by your commands. You transform from a quiet helper into a fearsome taskmaster. The muscle memory of 100 ambushes, a dozen shield walls, returns with chilling clarity. You say, pointing to the strongest-looking men. Take the wood, cutting axes. You four, gather every pitchfork and sharpened stake you can find. We will turn this clearing into a trap. You show them how to dig a shallow, disguised trench at the narrow entrance to the settlement, just deep enough to break a horse's leg. You have them fell 2 small trees, ready to be pulled across the path to block any retreat. You are using the tools of creation. Axes that built their homes, shovels that tilled their fields, and turning them into instruments of war. The irony is a bitter taste in your mouth. Your greatest challenge is the shield wall. These are not warriors trained from boyhood to stand shoulder to shoulder, to trust the man beside them with their life. They are terrified farmers. A shield wall is not about individual strength. You tell them, grabbing a flat, wide section of a log to use as a makeshift shield. It is about the wall. It is about a line that does not break. Your shield protects the man to your left. His shield protects you. You move as one. You push as one. You do not break the line. Ever. You drill them relentlessly. You shove them, kick at their makeshift shields, screaming at them in a mix of their language and your own. You are harsh, brutal, channeling the voice of your old commanders. You have to be. Their lives depend on it. You see the fear in their eyes turning into something else. A resentful, terrified obedience. They are looking at you as their enemy once did. Aethelflaed watches from a distance, her face pale, her hands clutching a small wooden cross at her neck. The warmth that had grown between you has vanished, replaced by a cold, appraising stare. She is not seeing the man who helped her replant a garden. She is seeing the embodiment of the terror that destroyed her home. The efficient, brutal killer that lurks beneath the quiet exterior you so carefully constructed. The look in her eyes is a wound deeper than any blade could inflict. The riders come at dusk. There are a dozen of them, clad in leather jerkins and simple iron caps, armed with spears and swords. They are led by a man with a greying beard and a face like granite. These are not a king's household troops. They are a local lord's levy, tasked with scouring the land. They are here to purge, not to conquer. They ride into the narrow path leading to your settlement with an arrogant confidence, believing they are about to corner a handful of helpless peasants. You wait, hidden behind a large oak, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. It is the old, familiar song of battle, a tune you thought you had forgotten. You hate it. You crave it. The lead horse stumbles, its legs snapping with a sickening crack as it finds your trench. The rider is thrown, and the column falls into chaos. Now, you roar, the sound ripping from your throat, raw and full of a fury you did not know you still possessed. The two trees are pulled across the path, sealing the trap. From the woods on either side, a volley of stones and sharpened sticks, thrown by the women and older children, rains down on the confused horsemen. It's a pathetic assault, but it adds to the panic. Then, from the mouth of the clearing, your makeshift shield wall emerges. 10 men, armed with wood axes and pitchforks, holding shields made of woven branches and hardened leather. They are a terrifying, pitiable sight. You let them hold the line for a moment, a wall of desperate fear. The Saxon lord's men, recovering from their surprise, dismount and surge forward, their swords flashing in the dying light. You watch as a farmer named Oswin takes a sword cut to his shield, the force of it making him cry out. But he holds. They all hold. Then you move. You don't charge the front. That is a fool's game. You are the surprise. You are the terror. You flank them, coming out of the trees on their right like a spectre, your Viking axe held in a two-handed grip. The part of your mind that appreciates beauty is gone. The part that feels pity is gone. There is only geometry, leverage, and the cold, hard calculus of killing. Your first target is a broad, shouldered man turning to face the shield wall. He never sees you. The axe bites deep into the back of his neck, and he goes down without a sound. You don't pause. You pivot, the momentum of the swing carrying you into the next man. He turns, his eyes wide with shock, and brings his sword up. You don't try to block it. You let your axe slide down his blade, a shower of sparks, and hook the back of his knee with the bottom of the axe head. He cries out as his leg buckles, and your follow-up swing silences him. It is a terrible, efficient dance. You are not a man anymore. You are a machine built for one purpose. You move with a speed and brutality that mesmerizes and horrifies. The other Saxons, seeing their comrades fall to a single, wild-haired demon, begin to panic. Their attack on the shield wall falters. They are caught between a line of resolute farmers and a whirlwind of death. Their leader, the man with the granite face, finally turns his attention to you. He is a seasoned warrior. You can see it in his stance, in the cold appraisal in his eyes. He bellows a challenge and comes for you. He is good. He parries your first swing, his sword ringing against your axe. He lunges, and you are forced to give ground. But you are not just a berserker. You are a student of Ivar the Boneless, a master of cunning. You feint a high swing, drawing his block upwards, and then stamp down hard on his foot. He grunts in pain, his balance compromised for a split second. It's all you need. You drop your axe into one hand and punch him in the face with your mailed fist, the rings on your knuckles splitting his lip. As he stumbles back, your axe comes around in a low, horizontal arc that takes him in the thigh. He screams a high, piercing sound and clutches his leg as blood pours through his fingers. You stand over him, your chest heaving, your axe dripping. The fight is over. The remaining Saxons, seeing their leader fall, throw down their weapons and beg for mercy. The silence that descends after the last scream is heavier than any battle cry. The air is thick with the smell of blood and churned earth. You look at the bodies on the ground, at the wounded moaning, and you feel nothing but a vast, hollow emptiness. You did it. You saved them. You turn, expecting to see relief, to see gratitude for their salvation. But what you find in their eyes is something far colder. The farmers of your shield wall are staring at you, their faces ashen, their makeshift weapons held loosely in their trembling hands. They are not looking at their savior. They are looking at the thing they just fought against, a creature of pure, unbridled violence. And then your eyes find Aethelflaed. She is standing near the huts, her hands pressed to her mouth, her face a canvas of horror and disbelief. The chasm that has just opened between you is wider and deeper than any trench a horse could fall into. She has seen the truth you tried to bury. She has seen the wolf. You saved her life, and in the space of 10 heartbeats, you have destroyed any hope of ever truly sharing it. The silence after the battle was a different kind of wound. It was not the quiet of the forest or the peaceful hush of a winter's dawn, but a hollow, ringing void where the screams and the clash of steel had been only moments before. The Saxon lord's men were broken and scattered. Your new home was saved, but the cost was etched onto the faces of the people you had fought to protect. You remember seeing it most clearly in Aethelflaed's eyes. Not gratitude, but a deep, primal fear. In that desperate, bloody struggle, they had not seen a protector. They had seen the return of the Viking, the efficient, terrifying killer you once were. A chasm had opened at your feet that day, a gulf of mistrust carved by your own buried axe, and you feared it was a gap you could never cross. But years have a way of filling even the deepest trenches, not with grand gestures or soaring speeches, but with the quiet, steady accumulation of ordinary days. Season after season of shared labor, of mending the same fences, of huddling by the same fire through the same biting winters, of watching children be born and old ones laid to rest in the same soil. These are the things that rebuild a bridge. Timber by patient timber, and now, so many years later that the memory feels like a half-remembered saga from another man's life, you stand on a gentle rise overlooking not a desperate camp, but a proper village. The sun is warm on your weathered face, and the air carries none of the old tension of ash and iron. Instead, it smells of peat smoke curling from a dozen chimneys, of fresh, baked bread, of damp earth from the newly ploughed fields, and of the sweet, pungent aroma of contented livestock. This is the peace you once thought impossible, a quiet so profound it feels more valuable than all the silver plundered from all the churches in England. You let your eyes drift over the settlement, a place that is a perfect map of your own journey. The buildings are a stubborn, practical mix of two worlds. You can see the long, straight lines of Norse longhouses, their pitched turf roofs a familiar sight from your youth, standing shoulder to shoulder with the rounded, wattle, and daub huts of the Saxons, their thatched roofs a warm gold in the afternoon light. It's a testament to practicality. Your people knew how to build strong with timber, how to join beams to withstand the northern gales. The Saxons knew this land, knew which clay held firmest and which reeds made the tightest roof against the endless English rain. In the beginning you built a part now. You see a new house being raised near the river, and its foundation is Saxon stone, but its frame is Norse timber. A new style born of this place, a new people. You draw in a slow breath, and the air itself feels different. You remember the air of a Viking camp. It was always sharp with the metallic tang of whetstones on steel, the sour stench of stale ale, and the ever-present, underlying smell of blood. Here, the dominant sound is the rhythmic, reassuring thump, thump, thump of a hammer from the smithy, not forging a sword, but shaping a plowshare. You can hear the lowing of cattle, the bleating of sheep, and above it all, the one sound that was so rare in your old life, the genuine, carefree laughter of children playing by the stream. You once measured your life in raids, in battles won, in scars earned. Now, you measure it in harvests, in roofs that do not leak, and in the height of the saplings you planted by the riverbank that are now sturdy, adolescent trees. Your stomach gives a low rumble, a gentle reminder of the coming evening meal, not the sharp pang of true hunger you knew so well in your first years here. Food, you reflect, tells a story all its own. In the Great Army you ate what you could take. It was often a feast of looted cattle and grain, devoured quickly, greedily, before moving on. Or it was lean times of hard tack and salted fish, your jaw aching from the effort of chewing. The idea of farming, of patiently putting a seed in the ground, and waiting a whole season for it to grow, seemed a fool's errand to the man you were. Why wait when you could take? Now, the thought is so foreign you can barely recognize the boy who believed it. You walk down the gentle slope into the village, and your path takes you past the communal ovens. The air is thick with the rich, earthy scent of baking bread. It's not the fine, white bread of Saxon lords, made from sifted wheat flour. A luxury you might have stolen once and eaten without a thought. This is the bread of your village, a dark, heavy loaf made from rye and barley, dense and filling. It speaks of a shared reality. Rye grows better in the damp, cool climate, a lesson the Norse settlers learned the hard way. The barley is a Saxon staple. Kneaded together, baked in an oven built with Saxon techniques for holding steady, low heat, it is the taste of your new world. It is solid. It is sustaining. It is ours. As you pass the small cluster of huts near the center of the village, you see a woman, Ealhswith, sitting outside her doorway, her fingers a blur as she works a warp-weighted loom. The shuttle flies back and forth, weaving threads of bright red and deep blue into a band of cloth. Your people were skilled weavers, a necessity for making the sails that carried you across the sea, and the warm woolens that kept you from freezing. But the Saxons, their women could weave stories into cloth, creating intricate patterns and images that seemed to speak. You watch Ealhswith's hands, and you see the same patient, focused energy Aethelflaed once showed you with her manuscripts. The creation of a thing of beauty, thread by patient thread. Her craft is respected here. Her skill feeds and clothes her family just as surely as her husband's skill with a fishing net. In your old life, a woman's worth was often measured by the alliances she could bring or the sons she could bear. Here, her worth is in the skill of her hands, the sharpness of her mind, plain for all to see. Speaking of skills, your own hands feel empty. You flex them, looking at the palms. They are a roadmap of your life. The thick, pale scars from sword and axe pommels are still there, faded ridges of memory across your knuckles and palms. But they are overlaid now with a different kind of history. The newer caluses are from the handle of a shovel, the haft of a wood, axe used for felling trees for homes, not for breaking shield walls. There's a permanent black smudge under your left thumbnail from where you helped the smith fix a wagon wheel yesterday. You think of the sheer, brutal physicality of your life as a raider. The endless drills, the marches, the heaving of oars for days on end, the explosive life, or death violence of battle. It was a life that wore a body down, shattered it into pieces. The work you do now is also hard. Your back aches at the end of a long day of digging irrigation ditches or raising a barn roof. But it is a different kind of ache. It is the satisfying exhaustion of building something up, not tearing it down. It is a weariness that leads to deep, dreamless sleep, not the haunted, restless half-slumber of a soldier, ever listening for a snapped twig in the dark. A few days ago, a dispute arose between two families. One, a Norse family new to the area, had cleared a section of woodland that a Saxon family had traditionally used for foraging pigs. In Ivar's time, such a dispute would have been settled with a brief, bloody fight, the strongest taking what they wanted. But you were called, along with one of the Saxon elders. You did not draw weapons. You stood on the land, you listened to both sides, and you talked. For hours, you talked of laws, both the Norse traditions of land, claims and the Saxon customs of common use. In the end, a compromise was found. A boundary marked by stones, a sharing of the acorn harvest. You walked away not with plunder, but with a handshake. It felt more like a victory than many of your old battles. You, Einar the Raider, had become a peacemaker. The irony is so vast it's almost comical. You find yourself walking toward the small stone building near the edge of the village. It isn't a church, not anymore. The cross was taken down from its gable long ago, by mutual, unspoken agreement. It serves now as a storehouse and a place of learning. This is where Aethelflaed spends most of her days. As you approach, the door is open to let in the afternoon light, and you see her inside, sitting at a simple wooden table. She is older now, her hair streaked with silver like morning frost, but her hands are as steady as ever. She is not illuminating a holy book. Before her are several children, a mix of fair Norse hair and dark Saxon hair, all crowded together. She is teaching them to read and write. You lean against the doorframe, content to watch, unseen. The letters she draws with a piece of charcoal on a slab of slate are the Saxon script, but the words she speaks are a mix. You hear her explain a word in Old English, and then provide the Norse equivalent, explaining the subtle differences. The children repeat them, their young voices stumbling over the unfamiliar sounds, blending the two tongues into one. A new language is being forged in this room, you realize. A language for a new people. Your own children are in that group. You see your son, John, who has your eyes but his mother's stubborn Saxon chin, whisper a word to a Saxon girl beside him, and she giggles. They don't see Norse or Saxon. They just see another child from the village. They are the first true people of this Danelaw, this land where the law of the Danes holds sway, but the roots of the Angles and Saxons still run deep. Aethelflaed looks up, her eyes finding yours. The fear you saw in them all those years ago is gone. It was not replaced by love, or passion, or any of the grand things the skalds sing of. It was replaced by something far more durable and profound: acceptance. A quiet understanding forged in the crucible of survival. She gives you a small, tired smile, and in that simple gesture, the bridge between you feels as solid as the earth itself. The chasm is closed. She saw the killer you were, yes, but she has also seen the man you chose to become every single day since. She has seen you dig wells, raise barns, comfort crying children, and sit in quiet council. She knows the truth of you, not just the single terrible part, but the whole. You nod back and continue your walk, leaving them to their lessons. Your path takes you toward the fields that ring the village, a patchwork of green and gold stretching out toward the woods. You pass the village burial ground, a quiet, fenced-off plot. Here, too, the two worlds meet. You see simple Saxon grave mounds side by side with Norse stones etched not with crosses, but with protective runes. There is no conflict here. Just a shared, quiet respect for the dead, for the ancestors who brought everyone to this place. You pause by one grave, a simple stone carved with the likeness of a wolf. It is for Ulf, a shield brother who left the army with you, but who fell in that final battle against the Saxon lord. He died a warrior, defending a farm. You wonder what the sagas would make of that. Finally, you reach the edge of the last field, the one you helped clear with your own hands. The barley is tall and heavy, headed, turning a pale gold as autumn approaches. You reach out and let the rough heads of grain brush against your scarred palm. This is your hoard of silver. This is your plunder. Each stalk of barley is a tiny victory against hunger, against chaos, against the long, dark winter. It is a victory that feeds, that sustains, that builds. It does not glitter, and no one will sing of it, but you can feel its worth in your bones. A shout pulls you from your thoughts. You turn and see two figures running through the grass near the stream. Your children, freed from their lessons. Your daughter Frida is clutching a doll made of corn husks, its little dress a scrap of Saxon embroidery. Your son Bon is chasing her, brandishing a small, clumsily carved wooden sword, a toy you made for him last winter. They are shouting at each other, and their words are that unique blend of tongues that is the sound of home. A Norse word for run, followed by a Saxon plea to wait. You watch them, and a feeling settles over you that is so vast and so complete that it fills every crack and crevice of your soul. It is peace. Not the absence of war, but the vibrant, living presence of a future. The great wars have faded. Ivar the Boneless is a ghost, a name that frightens children in faraway kingdoms. The Great Heathen Army scattered to the winds, its warriors becoming kings or farmers, or dying in some forgotten skirmish. Their sagas are tales of fire and glory, of endings. But here, in this quiet corner of the Danelaw, a beginning is taking root. Your journey did not end when you deserted the army, or when you picked up an axe for the last time. It ends here now, standing in a field you helped plant, watching your children play, their very existence a bridge between two warring worlds. You are no longer Einar the raider, a destroyer of worlds. You are Einar the farmer, the elder, the father, a creator. Your true legacy is not a story, will be roared in a mead hall. It is a quiet thing, written in the lines of a ploughed field, in the sturdy timbers of a shared house, and in the mixed, tongued laughter of children as the sun sets on a world you helped build. And it is more than enough.